Hey there guys, as promised, in this section I'm going to be covering how to create a web page. This is a simple web page, maybe 2 pages and some images. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is we want to create an HTML page. So let's create our HTML page, and we simply create a new document, text document, and we'll name it index. And let's get rid of the txt. And if you're not showing extensions, you may want to turn that on, because otherwise it's going to be saved as text and not as an HTML page. You notice that when I change the extension, I get the Chrome browser because it'll open up. But of course, there's nothing there. So let's go ahead and create a cascading style sheet. That's so that you can display it the way you want. The HTML is just the content itself, but the cascading style sheet is so that you can have certain things like attributes like colors and placement and so on. So let's create a CSS. So let's just call it style. And for now, that's all we need. And maybe we can have an image folder. So let's create a folder for images. So right now our index page doesn't have much. Let's go ahead and open this up in Visual Studio Code. If you haven't installed it, go ahead and install Visual Studio Code. So, and let me go ahead and pin that here. So now I have the pages here. And one of the things about this, and let's go ahead and move into that section. So this is located in I misspelled Chrome. Let's see. There it is. And it starts our page. Let's go back. So we don't have anything on our page. I could put something here. And then I can go ahead and start it. And you can see very small. If I increase it, you can see that it just says hello. But that's not a true HTML page, because for a true HTML page, we need markup language. So HTML is really just markup language for your page. And it has a standard structure. So the first thing that you have is the doc type. We want to say doc type. And I think that's all we need here. And then we need HTML. Now, tags have to have an opening tag and a closing tag. And you notice the difference between the opening tag. So this is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. They look the same and they belong in pairs. And you notice that there's a slash for the closing tag. And you can nest these tags together. So another part of it that you need to have is the head. And we have the head there. And typically you indent for style. So you have the head, and the other thing you need is the body. And this is where all your content belongs. And you notice they're nested. So now I have just about everything. But there's one more thing that I need here, and it's the title. And the title will be my profile or something. And we can just type hello world. And so let's go ahead and go back to our Chrome. And we can refresh this page. And you notice it says hello world. Well, it doesn't do much at that point. So the tags, these tags right now, they're all empty. But these tags, some of these tags actually have attributes. So this is a tag. These are tags. But let's say that we wanted, for example, let's have a header. So there is a header tag, and you have H1 through, I believe, H5. I want to say that it goes all the way to H5. So let's do an H1 tag, which is really the biggest one. And you can have, so we can say my profile here. And you may be wondering what the difference is between this here and that there. So the title is what shows up in the Chrome browser. If we go back to our Chrome browser, you'll notice that my profile shows up on the title bar. Is well, really, since Chrome uses tabs, it shows up there. So that's where that is. And now if we refresh this, we see my profile. So that's a header. So we could have like H2s, and you'll see the difference between the different tags for H2. Let's do a couple of them. H2. And of course, they have to have matching tags, closing tags, H2, and this should be H3, not H2. And we'll call this an H2, and we'll call this an H3. And if we refresh it, you'll see that there's a difference. And actually, I need to go back to 100%. So I need to go to 100% here. So you notice the difference between them. There's also a paragraph tag. So paragraph tag is just simply this, and you could type as much content as you want. What happens in HTML, though, it ignores white space. So I could type, this is a simple, I can't spell simple, simple little paragraph to show how paragraphs work, how the p tag works. And there's my paragraph. And so if I refresh this, and let's go ahead and move this over like this, since we're working on this end. So we see that there's a paragraph. Of course, I could have a whole bunch more content. And I didn't mean to type any tags. Didn't mean to do that. Oh, it just does it. The editor does all this stuff, crazy stuff. So anyway, so if I refresh it, I save it, and I refresh it, and kind of did that. So anyway, that's the paragraph tag. One other important thing about HTML, and you may wonder how the links work. So there's this tag called an anchor tag. And the anchor tag can be nested just about anywhere. So there's the anchor tag. And that anchor tag, in between that anchor tag, you have your actual text. And one of the things that it needs is the href. And the href is just saying the hyperlink reference. And that hyperlink reference is to another page. So references kind of work like this. You can actually have like HTTPS, www, Google, but normally you're working within your own page, so you can have actual references. So if you're not familiar with references in the Windows directory, the dot means this directory and then my file name. So I can say page2.html. I can also do, for example, a subdirectory which could be sub1 and then page2, right? And so I can do it that way, but we're going to put it in the same directory. So we just have page2 HTML. We don't have page2 HTML, but you're going to notice that when I do this and I refresh this, now I have a link. But of course, the link is going to be your file is not found because I haven't created page2. So let's go ahead and add a new file in the same directory, and we'll call it page2. And to make things simple, let's copy all of this into page2. And let's get rid of all this stuff and just call it page2 for now. And so we have page2. So now if we refresh this, if we named it correctly, it should have something. And you can see that it has page2. Of course, it's really small. So we may want to create a backlink to page 1. So we create an anchor, an href, and we go to index.html. And of course, we say, call it home or something. We refresh this, and now it can take us back home. So we probably should have had this at the top or bottom or whatever. So let's just put it here. And we refresh this. And now we can go back home, and it takes us back home. So that's your anchors. So let's say that we wanted to create something meaningful. So let's just say that we had some kind of layout for a profile or something like that. And maybe we want to create something with like a bio or something. So if we do that, let's go ahead and on the home page, let's not do it on page 2. Let's do it on page 1. So we have a header for our profile already. And then maybe we want to have like maybe some attributes about us. So you notice that I have a div here. And this div is just a way to break things out in your page. So if you want to have certain blocks, and you notice like most web pages are kind of broken out in blocks. There's a broad block of something here and a block of something here and stuff like that. So divs are the way to separate those things. So in this case, we want to create a div, and maybe we want to create an about me or something. So there's a couple of different ways of doing this. So we could do an unordered list, and you notice it's UL, and the unordered list takes a nested item of LI, right? In this case, we could say name Joe, for example, and create another LI, and then maybe age or something, and then another LI. And then we have, for example, I don't know, hobbies. Okay. So now when we refresh this, we have that. And let's say that maybe we also want to have an image, and we want our image to show up somewhere within this div with the profile. So maybe we want it underneath, or maybe we want another div for the image. So let's say that we have the div, and let's create an image tag. So the image tag looks something like this, and the only thing it needs is a source. So we have to tell it, where is our image? And our image is going to be located in this directory, one directory down, called images, because that's what we created. You notice that we have the images here. We don't have an image there, but let's just have images, and let's just say profile pic, profile PNG or something, or it could be JPEG. Depends on what the name of the file is. So we have an image, and that's really all we need. Typically with an image, you need an additional thing called alt, and this is for like the hearing impaired and so on. So you say profile pic. So because they can't actually see the image, but they need to hear what it is, this will provide that alternative there. So we don't really need this. We don't need to close the tag. And this is another way of closing the tag. Here, as you notice, we have an image and we have the slash directly after it. So we're closing the tag there. So let me close this. Let's go ahead and save this. And if I refresh it right now, you're going to see that there's something there, but there's no image. So let's go out and grab an image from the internet. Let's just say, who's good? Who should we pick on today? Let's go ahead and pick on Mr. Bean. Why not? So let's go get an image. And these are funny. So let's pick this one. So let's just download this one. One word of caution though, when you start creating web pages, you may think that just because it's out there on the internet, you can use it, and that's not true. You can't use it. I'm using something like this just as an example, but you shouldn't use something that doesn't belong to you. So in this case, I'm just using this off the web, and I'm going to save the image, and I want to save it to the folder where the images are. So in this case, it's here, and I believe it's, what is it, YouTube page or something. Here it is. And then under images, and I'm going to name it profile pic that JPEG. But I don't even have to add the extension. It already has it. So I'll save it, and you can see that it added it here. So I have the profile pic here, and it's a JPEG, and that has to match here. So I have profile pic, and I have to match the file name, and it has to be named just exactly like that, JPG. And go ahead and save it. Go back to our profile page, and now we have an image. There's how you create an image. So this is the basic stuff. So this is the attribute. This is an attribute to a tag, and most of these can have attributes. So in the case of image and in hyperlinks and all that, you really need to have those attributes. But most of these other ones don't really need so many attributes because there's something called class, right? So there's attributes for styling, which in that case, you could say class equals such and such or whatever. There's also another attribute called ID. So you could actually give this an ID equals something, and then you could target those with your styling sheet. So we could get more into that once we start with our styles. So let's say that we want to change the way these look. We don't like the way that looks, and maybe we want to change the size of the image. So in this case, we'll say that this is the ID equals profile. So in that case, that's the profile. And let's see. And we want to do something about this. We'll add a class to this. We'll call it, the class will be profile info. Okay, this is our profile. We'll call it profile image. So now these in and of themselves don't do anything. They're not going to change anything at this point. However, there's another aspect to formatting all this stuff, and this is in styles. So the style, there's different ways to target styles. So we can do it by class name, in which case we do something like this, right? So we can say dot whatever, like profile pic. What did we call it? Profile image. So we can target, and it's by ID. So in that case, it's not a dot, it's the ID. This means that I'm targeting an ID called profile image. And it has to match. And maybe we want the width or something to be equal to, let's just say 50 pixels or something. And the thing about it is we haven't linked our file, our CSS. Just because it's there, it doesn't automatically pick it up. So we have to go back into our image and actually create a link here. Here we have a very good resource, W3C Schools, to link, and we can find how it links. So that's not linking, because the styles can actually be embedded right in, but that's not the recommended way. And then there's another way to do it right in the body and just kind of embed it. So it's internal CSS, but the best way is to separate it in a separate file. And this is the way you do it. So it's link. And so all we have to do is put that in there, style sheet, style, CSS. And I think we called it styles. Our file name is not styles, but style, CSS. So this should be good to go. Yeah, should be good to go. So let's go back to our page And we should see the image. Did we save everything? We have the link, style sheet, style CSS, and we targeted profile image. So let's see, did we target profile image? We did, but we have to say max width. It looks like it's not working. Okay, what am I doing wrong? So profile image, we have this linked. We have the style sheet. We saved it. We have ID equals profile image. Oh, I think I know why. Because we're actually targeting the div and not the image itself. So one additional thing that we have to do is take and target the image. So we'd have to take and go back to CSS, and you can actually get more specific. So I think the way to do it is to say profile image IMG. Let's see if that works. And that's too small. We don't want it that small, so let's make it bigger. A little bit better. Let's go with 150. And there's a lot of different things you can do with the style sheet here. I'm using pixels, but you can actually use other measurements like percentages and stuff like that. Like, for example, if I said 50%, that's going to be 50% of the page, well, of the div that it's in. So, like, for example, so it goes to that. So, actually, I should say max width. If I said width, it should change the width of it. So it gets bigger, so it's half the page. So you notice that if I make the page bigger, it gets bigger because I'm using a percentage and it's based on the percentage of the page. So in this case, we want to make it, let's say that we just want to go with pixels. So let's go with 200 pixels. And we're targeting the ID profile image. And the reason for that is because we use the ID attribute here. So in this case, for the unordered list, we're using profile info, which we're using a class, so we can target the class directly. The difference between ID and class is that ID can exist only one time. This ID, this particular ID profile image, can be in the page only one time. So the class, I can have that same class applied to different lists. Maybe I had another list or something, and when I change my style sheet, it will also affect that other class within that other tag in the file. So let's say that we wanted this font to be different. So let's go ahead and take our CSS. Let's change the font of the entire page. We don't like this font. So let's just go ahead and say the body, and notice that this time I'm not using the dot operator or the pound, because I'm targeting, what this is targeting the entire tag of the body. So in this case, for example, it's targeting this. So everything inside of it, and cascading style sheets do exactly what they say. They cascade down. So that's going to affect everything in the body. So if we go back over here, and we can change the font, and good thing for IntelliSense. And we want to use Courier, no. Let's try Arial. Oh, it didn't. Let's see. Let's try something like, let's try this one. Ooh. I didn't want all that. It gave me a whole bunch of them. So let's see what it does. So let's save it. And notice how it changed my font now. So it doesn't have that font, the default font. You can target a lot of things. So you can actually change the color. We wouldn't necessarily want to change the color of everything here. Maybe we want to change though some of this stuff. So like, for example, in the index here, we want to maybe make this different weight, maybe bold compared to that. So we don't want to use div in that case, but we can use something else called span. And that's just so that we can create a wrapper that we can target. So like in this case, we'll call that, and let's say we have span here, and we'll take the age also here. And we'll take this. Oh, did it get rid of my hobbies attribute? So now we can add a class to each of these. So we can say class equals, let's call it, maybe it's not a good idea to use the keyword attribute. So let's go ahead and take that and do the same thing to all of these. So now we have attributes all the way across. And so we could have named this whatever we want. I mean, we can name it food, bar, whatever, pancake. It doesn't matter. I must be hungry. I'm thinking of food. So attribute here. And then you notice that it's class. So to target a class in our CSS style sheet, we use the dot operator. So, well, not operator, but the dot, the decimal. So, and it's called attribute. And so now we can change maybe the color, and the color is going to change the actual font color. And we could target, by saying, like, for example, and it's based on red, green, blue. We could actually use red, the word red, and just do that. But maybe we want to do, let's say, royal blue or something, or just blue. No, we don't want that. We want royal blue. Maybe we have royal blue. And you notice now that I have multiple properties. I have color, and maybe I want to change the font weight to bold. And so now our font weight should be bold and should be blue. So let's go ahead and refresh this. Oh, we didn't. Do I have an error here? Oh, I need to save all my files. And so refresh it. And you notice how it changed now. These have changed. And you know, they changed because we target. So here we're using the dot operator, which targets class, and this targets ID, and this targets a tag. And we can target any tag. And there's some particular attributes like color, background color, and so on. You can actually put borders if you wanted to. For example, let's say that all of this, so we have it here. Let's hide the file. So right now we have this div for the profile. So let's say that let's create an ID. Let's do an ID equals profile div or something. And since it's by ID, we have to target it with the pound, with the hash. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's go into the CSS file. And it's called profile div, so we'll target it. And we could put a border. So we'll put border, and there's so many different styles that you can add. So we could put a dotted border, for example, and then we could border color. And we can put, let's say that we want it to be purple or something. You can pick any color. You can actually create any color because it's red, green, blue. So it's a hexadecimal value. And hexadecimal values go from from 0 through, F. 0 through F, right? And it's 2 values. So it could go like, any combination of those numbers, 0 through 9, and then A through F. And it's 6 values that you need. So the first 2 are for how much red there is in there. So let's put, say, for example, 99 for red. And then it's red, green, and blue. Let's not put any green. Let's put 0 for green. And let's put something for blue, which will give us purple. So let's do another 99. Red, green, blue. And it kind of gives us some kind of a purple, kind of an ugly purple. So maybe we want more blue. Let's go with like CC or something. Whatever. And so that should give us a dotted border. And we can actually have the border thickness, border weight, border width. There it is. So we can have border width, and we could say 2 pixels or something. And we'll refresh it. And you notice I put a dotted border around the entire thing. That's because our div is set up that way. I think we've covered enough of the basics. You can get more information at W3C Schools for all the different styles for cascading style sheets. We covered the hyperlinks and the images, and that's really the basic things that you need. Now, there's ways that you can divvy up your page so that, for example, this is showing here, and maybe you have another column somewhere out. You could have another div where you have a menu and so on. But I think this is plenty for now. This should be able to get you started. Maybe it should get your appetite here a little bit. If you want to do more, then you can go ahead and do more. So that's enough for now. We didn't put any JavaScript in here, but there are ways to put JavaScript and different things to make the page do certain things. So like if we wanted a footer menu, we could put another div down at the bottom. So these are the basics of HTML. You need the cascading style sheet, you need HTML, and then of course at some point, if you want a real application, then you're going to need to have JavaScript. Even if it's for front end, there's a lot of neat things you can do with JavaScript, like have things show and have things hide and so on. I don't want to get into JavaScript just yet, but on the next tutorial, we'll follow up on this and we'll add some JavaScript. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave your comments, and just stay posted. See you next time.